Welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast, where it's all about fixing your marriage without your man's conscious effort so that you feel desired, taken care of, and special, even if your relationship feels completely hopeless. I'm Laura Doyle, and today we're talking about the secrets for magnetizing an emotionally unavailable husband. My guest Robin's husband was emotionally unavailable. She felt lonely and disconnected from him and was doing life by herself. But then she did something that made the arguments stop and made her stop crying. Today, she is her husband's Chucky again, and she feels cherished. She's going to tell us how she did it so you can do it too. Something big is happening here on the Laura Doyle campus, and you are invited. Hundreds of women have become experts on the 6 intimacy skills and transformed their marriages by becoming certified Laura Doyle relationship coaches who live their purpose, have more intimacy, and earn for their families. In my free masterclass, Purpose, Prosperity, and Intimacy, How to Have All Three and Help Others Do the Same, I share directly from our popular relationship coach training and certification course about the number one most important qualification for becoming a successful relationship coach. I also reveal the indispensable first step to having a passionate, peaceful relationship and how to share it with other women. I explain about why our coaches have an unfair advantage over other relationship coaches and counselors. And I go step by step through our proven coaching curriculum and why it's so effective in saving marriages and empowering coaches. Register today for Purpose, Prosperity, and Intimacy. Have all three and help others do the same at lauradoyle.org/purpose. That's lauradoyle.org/purpose. My guest, Robin's husband, was emotionally unavailable. She felt lonely and disconnected from her husband and was doing life by herself. But then she did something that made the arguments stop and made her stop crying. Today, she is her husband's Chucky again, and she feels cherished. She's going to tell us how she did it so you can do it too. Robin, welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast. Thank you so much for coming on to share your amazing story. It's good to have you here.
It's really my delight to be here, Laura. I've dreamt about this moment. Yep. And I've heard you say that it's like a victory lap, and that's how it feels for me too. Yeah.
Wow, happy to be celebrating your victory lap with you, Robin. Thank you so much. It's a huge gift to me for you to come on and to do that victory lap on this podcast. So let's go back to the battle days, though. What was going wrong in your marriage?
Well, I'll start how I met. First of all, I owe my husband to you, Laura, because after my first marriage failed, I really didn't have any skills in dating. And I found your book, The Surrendered Single, and I loved it. I began smiling at everyone, and I met and became a better receiver in lots of little ways, like letting men open doors for me. And it was really good. So we met online initially, but then we met up for our first date quite quickly. And we had a beautiful connection right from the beginning. Although he wore ugly brown shoes, I knew he was a kind gentleman with a great sense of humor right from that date. So after we met, I went to Russia for 3 weeks to help a friend with her mission to street kids. He wanted to hang out with me before I went, so he offered to come shopping with me and carry my bags. I was blown away. A man who likes shopping? Wow. That's not the case, by the way.
He just likes carrying your bags, maybe. He likes making Robin happy. Okay.
So he stayed in touch while I was away and couldn't wait to see me when I came home. So we dated for a long time, having some wonderful times and some very unhappy times when we didn't seem to see eye to eye. We fought a lot. He would withdraw then. I was so oversensitive to things he said. I took comments that he made the wrong way so often, and that's what caused a lot of damage in our marriage. But he finally asked me to marry him after nearly 2 years, and I was so excited about it. But I had a few concerns. I would get frustrated with him often when he didn't seem to understand me at all. But our wedding day was beautiful. The one thing that was of utmost importance to him in our vows was that we have a peaceful, harmonious relationship, which we both vowed to each other. So I moved in with him and life went on. We both worked, etc. I did struggle with the idea of living in the same house as he'd shared with his previous wife, who had died of cancer. And he made a generous promise that within 5 years, we would find a house together. Life was stressful a lot of the time in my job as a teacher and traveling a distance in the traffic to work. I was often really tired and became quite grumpy towards him. The poor guy couldn't win at times. There was a lot of unhappiness and the arguing continued. But true to his word, the right time came to sell. Although I didn't want to move away from my kids and their families, traveling across the city to visit them was nuts in the traffic. So we agreed that moving out of Auckland would give us a better lifestyle and probably take a similar commute to see them anyway. We found a lovely property 2 hours south of Lake Karapiro, which included a bed and breakfast. We had 6 months to prepare our house for sale. Long story short, although it didn't sell at auction, the agreement we finally signed matched our move-in date and we felt blessed. But I wasn't in good shape emotionally and physically when we moved to our beautiful house in the middle of winter. I was in a lot of pain with a pinched sciatic nerve. My youngest daughter pulled on my mama strings asking why I was moving away when they were all just starting to have children. I was miserable, unhappy in my relationship, sad and lonely, and I didn't know a single soul in this new town. My husband wasn't happy either, but he tried to find a way to live with me. He was asked by the firm that he had worked with for quite a long time if he would go to Sydney, Australia, to work on their customer service division. And he agreed. So he commuted every week for 18 months, going over there on Monday morning, leaving home at like 4 a.m. or 3 and getting home on Saturday morning in the weekend at some ridiculous hour as well. And to be honest, that probably helped our marriage being a those months.
Absence was making the heart grow fonder. How far was he having to go? Was he was driving a long way, or he was flying? Or
commute to catch a plane to Sydney.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, it's very far. Yeah.
So
it actually helped.
Yeah, he said it helped because he wasn't around me all the time, you know. There were many ups and downs in our relationship. We are both pretty affectionate. So love to cuddle. And so there was still a lot of that, but not the conversations and the intimacy that I longed for. My husband has told me since about how unhappy he was, but he never wanted to leave me as he believed that I would get better. And he wanted to add to my life. He always said that right from the beginning. He wanted to make me happy. He knew he could add to my life.
So sweet. You got a good one.
On his Monday morning commute to the airport, he would pray that God would help me. Every week he prayed for me.
Oh. But I mean, look, when you say that, so he prayed that God would help you. You found out about this later, or did you know?
Yeah.
That, and so help is like to help you what? Like what was he praying?
Well, he knew that I was super sensitive. He knew that I was reactionary. And he's told me that in his relationship with his first wife, who died of cancer, he never fought. They never fought. It was always a harmonious relationship. They never fought. And so when I'd say to him, but it's normal for couples to fight, he would say, it's not normal. It's not. You don't need to fight. So he figured that I needed a bit of revelation in that area.
Oh, wow. It just sounds like enormous pressure to live up to the ghost of the perfect or perfect former wife. What do you call that? It's not an ex-wife, but yeah, his first
And
wife.
yet in our entire time, he'd never compared me with her. Never.
Never.
He's only told me that recently about that he, he thought it was really strange when I'd say, but it's normal for couples to fight, you just have to learn how to fight fair. So a lot of the stuff that I believed about marriage was, it was not true. The myth that when you get married, that it's your husband's job to make you happy, that's his job.
Yeah.
But oh my goodness.
Well, he said he wanted to add to your life, and he wanted to come shopping with you and carry those bags, and so he did want to make you happy, but I get that you weren't happy. You were very unhappy.
I was very unhappy, but really, as it turns out, I was unhappy in myself. I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. I was a people pleaser. Yeah, and so and he was very comfortable in his own skin. He just and that's what appealed to me about him. Yeah.
I can see why he appealed to you. Yeah, for sure.
But it came to the point, of course, that I didn't like how I showed up in my marriage. I was not very dignified. I was needy. I was bossy. I was demanding. At times, I would give him advice about what he ate and what he said, and definitely about what he should wear. I was so controlling. This guy had lived a good life, managing his own life for about 50 years, so sure didn't need my help in those areas, I knew I needed help before I lost this marriage, and I didn't want to lose this marriage, And I've since told my kids that since I've, been implementing the skills, I don't think I know for sure I wouldn't have lost my first marriage if I knew those skills.
Oh, Robin,
that didn't need to happen. Because he was a good guy too. He was a good guy. So,
that is incredible accountability on your part. I'm very moved to hear you say that, because talk about
I do. So I searched your name again, Laura, and I found Proud Wife. And I got it on my, I got an ebook to start with, and I started reading it really, I just dove into it. And I was mortified to realize that the problems in our marriage was nearly totally my fault, totally my doing, So that was a real eye-opener. And I began to implement them right away. I started with relinquishing control of just about everything that was on his paper, but not his wardrobe to start with. I apologized for showing him so much disrespect. I honestly just did not know that for men, respect is like oxygen. I didn't know that. I really didn't. And I thought all my helpful ways of suggesting things to him was, that's what we do as women, we share our ideas, we share stuff. And that's how I related to him. And it's just, it went down like a lead balloon. So I didn't realize that my helpful suggestions were so disrespectful to him. Yeah. So I gave him an apology for all the disrespect that I had shown him. Yeah.
Wow.
And then
how did that land when you did that?
How did that land?
Yeah.
He was grateful, actually. Yeah. He thanked me. Yeah. He thanked me. Yeah. Yeah.
Very good.
It landed well. Yeah. So I, then began to understand that it was my job to make myself happy, not his. And that was a bit of a journey to find out how, to find out who I was and what I could do, what would make me happy. And now I can make myself happy easily, you know. And it's very interesting, Laura, because I had a journey with mental health, which really impacted my first marriage. And I've reflected a lot on that just lately. And I realized that when you have misconstrued ideas about what the relationship should be and how you should be, and you can't fix it, then I got to such a point where I was so, I don't know, so down on myself that I became so depressed because I didn't know how to make my marriage work in my first marriage, you know, and that was starting to happen in this marriage. I had a tumble into a depression again, and man, that was not good. And that was before I learned your skills. Yeah. So I know
this is really important, I think. It's fascinating in a way, because you're really pointing to that there was an expectation, maybe the way you were raised or whatever, that you're going to have a certain kind of marriage, and that didn't happen in your first marriage, and then it wasn't happening in your second marriage, and because of those expectations, it really caused a depression.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, and so
yeah, I know, and yet, you know, I was married for 25 years to my first husband, and we had a good marriage, you know, but you know, anyway.
Well, I just appreciate you making that connection, that the expectations falling so short, the reality falling so short of the expectations can drag you down so far, really. It sounds like you're saying that caused the depression, just not knowing that you had some power and how to use it and what to really expect out of your marriage.
I felt totally powerless to know how to make this marriage thrive. Yeah, it was awful. It was really awful.
And then you thought, well, he's withdrawn, and that's on his paper, right? There's nothing you can do about that he's so withdrawn, or that these intimate conversations you were longing for weren't happening. So that it was a kind of a powerlessness, which relates to depression very much. So yeah,
it does. That really does.
Yeah. So good job though on the apologizing for being disrespectful, and he received that well, and then sounds like you did some other things as well.
Yeah. So, you know, showing up happy was a big draw card. And then I began smiling at him more and laughing at his jokes again, you know, like that had all gone missing. Because he's actually quite funny. He's a funny guy. That's what attracted me to him. He was funny, could make me laugh. Sure. Yeah. And then
and you were saying too that making yourself happy was quite the journey, getting back to what did you do to make yourself happy?
Well, I love a female company, you know, so I developed some good friends down here, and I would go and have coffee with them, you know, and that really filled me up. And I've got sisters, and I would ring them, and I've got other friends that I would ring. Yeah, so lots of things like that. I did like to go for walks. Yeah, and I love delving into things like I love experimenting with recipes, and yeah, I love finding a new recipe, and I love when I'm feeling, yeah, I like to just create in the kitchen. Yeah, right. So that's what I would do. Yeah, I would love to do.
Those are really good, specific examples of self-care that filled you up. It's interesting because you're pointing to, the first thing you said is, I love the company of other women, and you were having these conversations with them. And this is what had gone missing in your marriage. You were having the kind of sharing conversations with other women, of course. And then that impacted the kind of conversations you were having at home.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It took a while for some of those things to materialize in my marriage, but it just became a happy, peaceful place to start with, Yeah, it was good. It was a really good. And he responded to me in such a different way. He was happier and kinder and wanted to engage with me. So that was good. And one of the things that I learnt when I found your skills was how to express a desire in a way that inspired. And so I thought, yeah, okay, what are my desires? So I started writing a list of my desires. Yeah. And it was time for us to update my car. And I said to him, I would love a 7-seater car, And I talked to my sons about it too. And they tried to talk me out of it. They really did. But he said, no, if Chucky wants a 7-seater, she shall have a 7-seater. That was just amazing. I just got over the moon. And then he would take me to all different parts. Like there's not much here in Karapiro or Cambridge, but take me to Hamilton and over to Tauranga and in Auckland. And we would test drive every 7-seater on the market. And he had already decided after testing them which one he would choose, but he wasn't going to tell me until I had chosen for myself. Which is really incredible. I felt so blessed that he did that. So, yeah, I chose the Santa Fe and he said, yeah, that's the one I was going to choose.
Oh, this man was inspired to make you happy, even though there's certainly a case to be made that it's not the most practical thing for you to have a 7-seater, apparently. Your sons didn't think so. Yeah. It's a great story.
I wanted to be able to take the grandchildren because I have 11 grandchildren and I wanted to take them out together. Yeah. So that was good. It was
so good.
I got my 7-seater. Yeah. It was amazing.
Love it.
Loved it. Mm.
So your house is happier now. You're smiling. You're laughing at his jokes. You're driving around with all your grandchildren in that Santa Fe and really enjoying that, it sounds like, too. What else? Was there anything else that you did differently than you had been before?
Well, I decided that it was time I learned how to be a good listener and not interrupt him. So I did. I would listen to him, and that made a big difference. He felt heard, yeah, which was good, really good. And I didn't disagree with him. About things. I remember, when we were going to put a new clothesline out back, I had an idea of what I wanted it to look like. And I tried to tell him that. And it just ended in a big fight, and because he's an engineer, he knew what was going to work, and he knew what he wanted to do. He didn't want to put up any flimsy little thing that was going to fall down. He wanted to have stainless steel poles, and he wanted the whole thing. He pictured what it would be, and I felt frustrated that I didn't have a voice. That I wasn't happy about it. But after I learned the skills, I thought, why am I fighting about this sort of stuff? It doesn't matter. He's going to do a great job, So I just left him to do it, and he did. It was great. It was great. The first, we needed a new clothesline while he was doing all this crazy commuting. So the first version of it was a bit rough, but he said, when I get time, I'll fix it. And he has. He's done it since. And it had to be patient, I must admit. But it's done now, things like that. And one of the things that I longed for was to travel. I wanted to travel because I got married young and had children young and never had the opportunity to travel. And I really wanted to travel. And whenever I talked to him about it, he would never buy into it. He would never plan a trip with me, And he's told me since I've got the skills that he said, when you were the way you were, I didn't want to travel with you, Because honestly, we went to the States for our honeymoon And we went with the Classic Bike Club in New Zealand, who wanted to race their bikes in Birmingham, Alabama, and in Daytona. And so we had just got married a few months before, and so he said, shall we have our honeymoon after that? Go with the team, because he was part of one of those teams, and we can have our honeymoon afterwards. And I thought, oh, that's lovely, that's great. But we had some terrible fights on our honeymoon. It was awful. Oh, it was awful, you know. So there were happy times. Yes, there were. There were definitely happy times. But, you know, the memory that sticks in his mind, you know, are some of the terrible, terrible fights we had. It was not nice. It was not nice. And now that I've got the skills, we don't fight at all. We really do not fight at all. The fighting has stopped. It really has stopped. It's incredible.
That is incredible. So
Yeah.
you mean to tell me it's doesn't have to be normal for married couples to fight?
No, it doesn't. You can have peace and harmony, you know? And I felt way back then that I just didn't have a voice, you know, but I do have a voice. He's happy to hear my ideas. And he said, now we can discuss things, whereas before it was your way or the highway, you know? And I didn't realize how bad I was, you know?
No one showed you a different way, right? You just were. And it's interesting because you're saying you felt like you didn't have a voice then. And it sounds like you feel like you get heard a lot more now.
I do. I totally do. Totally do.
And yet, like when you tell the story about the clothesline in the backyard, you know, at the end of it, you sort of said, you know what, this is not really worth fighting about. So I don't think I'm going to say anything. And it got done and it was fine. And there was peace. So somebody might interpret that as saying, well, sure, Robin, if you just suck it up and don't have a voice, then of course you'll have peace. But I don't think that's what you're describing, is it?
No, it's not that at all. Like he's, if I feel quite strongly about something, I can respectfully tell him now, you know?
Like you want a 7-seater.
Yeah, I can. And we have amazing conversations now, because that's the big thing that started to change. He started to share spontaneously about his own life. Yeah, about things in his past and what he did and what life was like as a teenager and in his 20s and 30s. And he shares about his life with his colleagues now when he goes, because he still travels quite a bit to these jobs and what it's like. And he has me in stitches about some of the things that happen, you know, and it's just lovely. It's just lovely.
And these are those conversations you were longing for that had gone missing, and they've come back all on their own in a way after you became proficient at these skills.
You know,
Respect.
I thought, man, he loves to watch television, you know, like in the evenings, and I thought, that's so boring for me. I want to do things, you know. I want to do but now, you know, it's so different because we can just sit at the dinner table and we can just have amazing conversations, and it's lovely. We can still watch a lot of TV, and he loves to watch motorbike racing, and I watch that with him, and I've learned all about it, and I look forward to doing that with him. But the conversations are just wonderful. And like even this morning, you know, we probably woke up about 6 o'clock in bed, and we lay in bed for ages talking about something that troubles both of us, which is happening in our society. And I gave my opinion and he gave his, and I said I would love for us to listen to this audio book together so that we can understand what's happening. There's this Australian author that wrote this book called The Sex Education That You Need, That You Never Had, or whatever. But she gets pretty diverse into what she wants to say. And I said, you know, if we could listen to it together, then we could discuss what we actually think about this, you know, especially for our grandchildren. And yeah, well, that was a thing that I felt a little bit disconnected with. He does not have any children of his own, and the woman that he married before had already had children, and they were grown up, and she was a bit older than him, and so he never had the opportunity to have children. And my grandchildren adore him. They really do. They call him Vincey, and he's he's got this little goatee, and they love to play with it, and he's great with them, you know.
Oh.
But I like to spend probably more time with them than he does, you know. But that was, I used to get irritated about that, but I don't now. It's like, wow, he's happy for me to, as he says, you know, go up the hill to Auckland, and you know, I was going a lot. And after this, I'm going up there to support my daughter for 4 days, you know. And then I'm back again, and then I'm up again to the conference, to the I'm going to the.
You're going to Cherish for Life weekend.
And then across the ditch to Australia to the Cherish for Life.
Oh yeah, the Empowered Wife Workshop, of course. Sorry,
Yeah.
I misspoke. Yes, and then to the Cherish for Life weekend. You're going to both.
I'm going to both.
That's
and
awesome.
The most exciting thing that happened for me yesterday, I was talking to my granddaughter who lives over there, very close to where you're having the Cherish for Life workshop, weekend. And I had originally asked her to be my volunteer client when I trained to be a relationship coach, but it didn't work out. So she said to me, when she was on the phone yesterday, she said, "Oh, Shuki, I need some advice." Her boyfriend. and it turns out she's actually really lonely, you know, and I could really identify with her, you know. It was amazing. Anyway, she's picking me up from the airport in Brisbane, and I'm staying a couple of nights with her and her mum and her stepdad and her half sister and half brother there, and it's lovely. And then she's taking me down to the King's Cliff where the conference is. And she said to me, "So do you want me to take you down and pick you up and bring you back?" And I said, "Oh, no, I'm going to stay there." She said, "Oh, can I stay too?" And I said, "Yeah, you can stay. I'll register you for it." She's so excited. She's so excited, you know, and she needs to learn about the skills, you know, because she's lonely, and her girlfriend relationships just aren't working out because they all want to go off drinking and she doesn't. So she needs to build some new friendships, and this is just going to be a wonderful for her. I'm so excited about that.
Wow. So Robin, you have not only internalized these skills for yourself, for your own marriage, but it sounds like you are passing this down to your daughter. And it's not that you haven't tried before, but it sounds like she's ready now. She's asking for it. She's open. It must feel wonderful to be able to, and I can't help but think it must be partly from what she's witnessing about your relationship, because she must see to some degree, even though I guess you live somewhat far.
It's true. It's true. Because my husband's observed it. He said, "Your relationship with your kids is so different now." And it's true. It's really true. It's amazing.
Wow. Wow. So you're saying, so not only did your husband become more, I'll say, emotionally available or less withdrawn as a result of this, but you've improved the emotional safety with your children as well, transformed those relationships.
Yeah. I trust them to get on with their own life and make their own decisions really well.
Wow. They seem to like that, huh? Who
Yeah.
wouldn't? Who wouldn't? Wow. So that's an unintended consequence of trying to fix your marriage. But what a wonderful thing to be so close to
the
them.
best is that I can show up dignified in all the relationships that I have. You know, that's the most empowering thing. It's wonderful. You know, wonderful. When I had that tumble a few years ago back into depression, my husband was trying so hard to understand where I was at, whatever. And I said to him, I've never really felt comfortable in my own skin, never really have. And so when I learned the skills and I put them into place, I really do. Now I feel confident and I feel comfortable with who I am. I've started to like myself.
Wow.
you know and so it's far-reaching. These skills are far-reaching. Yeah, wonderful.
Amazing. So yeah,
Yeah.
you sound so transformed, Robin. It sounds like yeah, I mean, to go from feeling depressed and not being comfortable in your own skin to, I mean, to look at you now, I mean, and to hear you, to listen to you now, you seem very confident. You seem very self-possessed and self-aware, and you're describing these wonderful relationships you're having. So congratulations, because this is, I think in some ways you make it sound like this was very easy. I mean, was this easy?
Well, I started to do it just from the books to start with, the book. And I made a lot of good progress. And once you started the podcasts, I couldn't wait for the one to come out on Tuesday morning for me. So I've listened to all of them and gleaned from that as well. But once I had started to implement them and things were starting to change, I knew that I really wanted to be able to be a coach myself, because I wasn't the only woman in pain and wasn't having a happy marriage. I really, really wanted to be able to help other women. And I really want to be able to, at some point, help the young people in our world, the women who need these skills, when they're young. And that's why I feel so blessed to be able to share them with Kayla. She's going to be blown away by that weekend. She really is. She's going to see that women can have fun. I'm so looking forward to it.
It is so fun. It is, and so yeah, it's she's right to go because she's going to have a ball. You're right, and also be indoctrinated into the skills that are going to, you should be able to take them with her for the rest of her life. And she's quite young, so that is exciting.
That's right. Yeah, she's only 19. So
wow.
That's cool. And I think back to when I was 19, when I was dating my first husband, because I was married when I was 20. And, oh man, if I had those skills, it would have been different. It would have totally been different. Yeah, because I was pretty insecure, really, and these have given me confidence as a woman, to know who I am and the power that I have as a woman. It's incredible.
It is. Well,
Yeah.
Robin, what is your marriage like now?
It's amazing, Laura. It's really amazing. My husband tells me every day that he loves me, that I'm his chookie, and that he loves being with me. He actually thanks me regularly for changing our marriage and making it peaceful. Yeah.
He does.
Yes, he thanks me.
So he knows everything you're doing. He knows what you're up to.
He really does. So I had told him that it was, I was trying to, like I was saying before, trying to indoctrinate him way back then, that it was just normal to fight, and we just needed to learn how to fight fear. But that had never been his life experience, and he couldn't accept it. So he loves our peace, and he shares spontaneously with his life, and we have long chats about everything. And the fighting has completely stopped. We just don't fight.
That does seem like such a miracle. I give you all the credit for that, though.
Yeah, it does. And he gives me the credit. It's great. He said, just the other day, he said to me, I know that I have changed too, and that I'm a better person. Yeah. Yeah. So
He's changed too. How did he change?
How did he change? I think knowing that I accepted him has helped him to feel like he's a very self-contained person. He is, but it's, you talk about the wife mirror, and when you're you're being criticized all the time for, what you say, what you do, how you do it, what you wear, it's pretty horrid, really. And I stopped doing all that, and it's like he's finally able to be himself with me. Could be himself with other people, but with me he can be himself. And so, maybe he hasn't changed as much as I think, but maybe I see him now for the real person that he really is. It's wonderful.
Well, yeah, that is wonderful. And he says he's changed. It just sounds like you've become your best self, and then he's matched that. He's become his best self as well.
Yeah, it's lovely. He doesn't get, because he would, if he was under a lot of pressure and stress, he would get quite grumpy. And now he realizes when he is, and he apologizes to me for showing up like that.
Wow. And that wasn't happening before, it sounds like.
Not really. No. So that's pretty lovely. Yeah.
That is. Yeah.
So what I think I mentioned it before, that one of my desires was to travel overseas together, but he would never commit to planning a holiday. And then just recently he was in Australia sorting out an investment that he had over there. And he told me when he came back, he said, I want the money for our retirement and to travel. And I went, oh. Wow, I was blown away. And that's when he told me, before I didn't want to travel with you, but now I do. So look at that. Look at that. Isn't that amazing?
Oh, it's fantastic. What a delight.
Beautiful now. It's peaceful and playful and full of laughter and passionate. And it's just wonderful. Yeah.
Travel adventures ahead overseas for the two of you, because he knows that's what makes Chucky happy.
Yeah, that's happy. It's right. So I don't know who will go first, but he loves America. We'd love to go back to America. He loves all the not the big cities, but all the he loves to use all the back roads and all the little towns and everything. He just loves to explore the lot, And when we went over the Rocky Mountains, we'd been in Colorado, and he found this route called Cottonwood Pass. And every American that comes to stay with us, I always ask them, so have you been across Cottonwood Pass? No, we have no idea. It's like a goat trail, and it goes up to 10,000 feet. And oh my gosh, I was scared witless, but he loved it. Yeah, he loved it. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
It was spectacular. It was, yeah, it was lovely. Wow. So I feel like I am my best person now. Like, sure, I'm a mere mortal woman, and if I don't watch my self-care, I can get grumpy and irritable, but I know how to change that now, And so my dream of becoming a coach, I looked it up online about what it was all about and how much it would cost. And I transferred that into a New Zealand dollars, and I went, whoa, there's no way that I can afford that. And so I just parked the whole thing. And but my desire to do it just would not go away, So I had that discovery call. And then I went to my husband and I said, I would really love to do this, and this is how much it costs, And I thought he'd go, oh, that's too much. But he said, well, you know what? He said, you have just so transformed our marriage. And, I can see that you're passionate about this, and I think you should do it. And so I was going to take the money out of my Kiwi saver when I was 65 then. And he said, no, don't touch your Kiwi saver. And so he just transferred the money. I was just blown away. Totally blown away. So I have, just been certified. I got my certification thing.
Congratulations. Yay.
So exciting. And it's such perfect timing because, you guys are doing these things in Australia and New Zealand. And I can't wait to meet the other coaches in Auckland and in Australia. Yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah. So
you're ending world divorce. Ending world divorce. And we need that so much, right? There's such a need right there. And you're surrounded by women who have never even heard of the intimacy skills probably, or don't know how to apply them, or have tried to apply them and they thought it wouldn't work for them.
Yeah. I think they work for every woman if you just understand what they are, what they're trying to do, and just implement them and be patient because we're all different, It doesn't necessarily happen overnight, but when you show up as your best person, as your best self, dignified, it's just got to transform something.
It does. It's going to make you smile more. It's going to make you enjoy being around yourself a little more, maybe too, huh? I know it was true for me. I felt better just being around, like hearing my voice sound dignified instead of shrill and nagging or repeating myself. So, and I see it all over you too, Robin.
Yeah. There's one thing I realized was that when we complain, it's a horrible thing for them to hear. And a complaint is just a lazy desire, So I dig down and I find out, what's that desire under there?
Seems like you've gotten really good at that, at the desires, and those have been powerful, right? You're a certified coach now, and you're going to be traveling, and you have that 7-seater with all the grandkids in it. So it's really fun.
And he's supported me all the time through my training. You make sure that I had a cup of tea, or he would remind me of my class. He would, and when I sat in the hot seat, I wanted to have some of the shoes around me. So he set it all up for me. And it was just amazing. He just does everything he can to add to my life and make me happy. Yeah. It's just
dreamy. That is dreamy.
So proud of me.
Oh, this is I am getting tingling head to toe just hearing about how much he supports you.
Yes, 2 years ago, on my birthday in November, I had an aneurysm. I was talking to my son in Australia, and I just got this huge pounding headache. But what on earth's that? Because I didn't get headaches. And I went out to see him in his workshop, and I must have looked terrible because he said, Joel, he calls me by my middle name when he's not calling me Chucky, Joel. He said, what's wrong? And I told him about it. And he told me to go and lie down, and he called an ambulance straight away. And I'd had a huge aneurysm burst, but he got me into hospital really fast, and they were able to save me. But the surgeon said, people who have an aneurysm this large don't usually survive. And when they do, huge challenges. And I don't know, well, because it was in COVID, he couldn't visit me for the first 2 weeks. And then when he did, I came every day, and I recovered from it. And I just know that, my life purpose is to help other women. And so it's not my turn to go yet. I've got a lot of work to do.
Yes.
Help women transform their relationships and have happy, peaceful, passionate, playful marriages, Yeah.
No, it's nothing better. And you're right. It is it is your purpose, and that's what you're called to do. That's why you're, it's one of the big reasons you're still here.
Yeah.
And among others, of course, but I love that sense of purpose that you have. And of course I have the same one, and it's just so
Yeah.
great that we get to be on this journey together, be called to that same purpose.
That's right. Yeah, it is a privilege, isn't it?
Such a privilege.
Yeah, it is. So I can't thank you enough, Laura, for being, for actually writing those books, for doing the podcasts, for doing everything that you do to support women. It's incredible. It really is. And I can't wait to meet you in person. I don't think you're coming to Australia, are you?
I'm not coming. No, the local coaches are running the show. The coaches in New Zealand are running the Empowered Wife Workshop, and the coaches in Australia are holding the Cherish for Life weekend. And that's right. And that's how it should be, right? I can't be in the whole world, but you can, and you can be where you are planted, right? You can be in your part of the world. And so it's wonderful, but I'm looking forward to meeting you in person too. Yeah. And let me just ask you though, what is your best tip for somebody who says, well, my husband is withdrawn, we don't have these conversations like I want to have. There's arguments, he's emotionally unavailable. What's your tip for her if she wants to have what you have now, where he is so proud of her and supports her and apologizes to her and calls her his Chuki and brings her tea, gets her the 7-seater. What's your best tip for her?
Well, you've got to start with yourself. You absolutely have to. You reading the book is enlightening. Reading The Empowered Wife, and starting to delve into self-care and know how to make yourself happy and take care of yourself so you're not depleted. I mean, it's not rocket science to think that if we're so busy doing everything and working and taking care of everything like a lot of women do, that we're not going to have the energy to show up as our best self in our relationship, So I have pulled back and, as a good wife, I used to think that it was my job to, make dinner. But sometimes if I just haven't got the energy, I don't quite get myself into the kitchen. And then he comes and he starts dinner. And sometimes we do it together or he'll make it, and I just never thought that would ever be possible. So start with yourself, start with the self-care, start for looking at what it is that makes you happy, and learn how to express your desire in a way that inspires him, because they do just want to make us happy. That's their purpose, and if that's gone missing for a long time, you probably don't think it's ever possible. But it is possible, I mean, we met 14 years ago, and this last 18 months has been amazing. And it just gets better and better and better, And he is so happy that we have this wonderful relationship. And I believe it's possible for every woman, But, of course, you can't control another person. So you can only show up as your best self and just see what that impact has. And it had a big impact. It did. Yeah. So the power that a woman has in a relationship is quite phenomenal. Yeah, it's quite phenomenal.
It is. You are phenomenal, Robin, because it really sounds like you cured your own depression. It sounds like. Do I have that right? Is that?
There won't be any more of that.
There won't be any more of that. Okay, there won't. I love it. And that's not an easy thing to do, right? People, when depression strikes, they feel really stuck. And you were able to make yourself happy and become your best self. And that's been it's an incredible accomplishment to have the kind of marriage that you have now from where you were. So what do you think together?
Like when you feel confident in yourself, when you know you have a purpose, all those things that made me feel depressed, and not being able to relate to my husband, not being able to have the marriage that I longed for, it all just comes together. Yeah, it's incredible. Yes.
From depressed to joyful, right? It is a joy. It's a joy.
I have a strong faith in God, and I know that this is how He's created us to be, to show up, to be joyful, and have our purpose. And it's good. It's just good.
So good. It's so good. I agree. So, what would you say to yourself if you could go back in time now and tell yourself what you know? Tell your younger self that. What would you say?
I'd say help's on the way. It's possible. It's possible to have the marriage that you long for, and when you learn the skills, you will, and so to just stick with them and implement them. That's all that it took. It's all that it took. And sure, when I got a coach, when I was doing my training, it was wonderful to be able to share what was going on for me. But a lot of it had already sorted itself out. But, there were still things that I had blind spots for. And so, having another person who's standing for you, who's transformed their own relationship, is very empowering. It's very empowering. And so the whole community that you've created is wonderful, like it's all around the world. Here we are. You're in America and I'm in New Zealand, and, it's just great. It's just great.
It is.
Yeah.
It is great. Well, I'm so happy you're part of this. And yeah, you're definitely, you belong. You're one of us for sure. And Robin, I would like to give you my wife award now.
Yeah.
Here it is. Your best wife award. And it really
hold it there. I'm going to take a photo of
it. Okay. I'll let you take a photo of it, and I'll tell you why I think this is you're so richly deserving of this award. Because it takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of humility to maybe admit, perhaps I have something to do with the problems in my marriage, and somehow I can, just day by day, little by little, make these changes, and then create the kind of wonderful, joyful marriage you have now, and now pass that on to the next generation, right, in your family, but also as a relationship coach.
Yes.
I'm very impressed with what you've accomplished. So
thank you.
Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you when I come to the symposium.
Fantastic. I can't wait. That's in September. I will see you. That'll be wonderful. Thank you so much, Robin. It's been great.
Okay. Bye.
If you'd like to be my guest on the Empowered Wife podcast and share about how you fixed a struggling relationship using the 6 intimacy skills, I would love to interview you. Just go to lauradoyle.org/podcast-guest to let me know that you are willing to make a big contribution to ending world divorce by telling your relationship story. I look forward to meeting you. That's lauradoyle.org/podcast-guest. Listen and subscribe to the Empowered Wife podcast. On next week's podcast, we'll be talking about how to trigger a man's hero instinct. In the meantime, I hope you're having lots of fun. Today's fun fact is that my friend Raina was shocked when I said my massage therapist was $97. But $97 a session seems like the going rate.